Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. We are going to be drafting the back basic bodies. So the first thing you're going to do is to draft your shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 7 inches. Then I'm going to go down 1 inch. That will be my shoulder slope. So I'm going to mark the neck 3 by 1 inch. So my neck measurement will be 3 inches by 1 inch. As you can see, I'm marking it. So I'm going to connect the lines together for the neck. After connecting the lines together, I am going to mark my shoulder slope. So I'm marking the neckline. Then afterwards, I'm going to connect to my shoulder slope. After connecting to my shoulder slope, the next thing is to actually measure out my arm depth. My arm depth is shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch allowance. So as you can see, I'm going to connect it together. Then afterwards, I'm going to look for the half of the shoulder and the arm depth. Then I'll come out by half an inch. Then I'm going to connect it. The reason why I'm doing this is so that there will be no bulge at the arm side. So I am going to measure my shoulder to bust point as usual. My shoulder to bust point, to under bust, then to the waistline, then to the hips. This is so that we can get our dart measurement. So I'm just going to connect with straight line to the starting point. I'm going to connect. Remember that you're actually getting your 2 inches zip allowance. That's the line that you can see there. I don't know why I didn't capture that in the video. So the allowance that you are seeing there is actually your zipper allowance. So I'm going to go in by 4 inches. My bust point measurement is, my bust span is 3.5 inches plus half inch allowance. That's 4 inches. So plus half inch allowance, you have 4 inches. So I'm going to connect it together just to form my dart. So I'm going to connect it together. Then remember that this is back basic bodies, so your dart is not going to reach your bust point. In lieu of this, I'm going to also measure out my nipple point on my hip side. Then I'm going to connect it together. I'm going to connect it together to my bust point. So afterwards, I am going to go up by 3.5 inches. Then I am going to mark. I'm going to mark half an inch on both sides. So I'm going to connect from my bust point straight down, and I'm going to connect it to the 3.5 inch from the hip. So I'm going to connect. You see that the dart is different from the front body's dart. So afterwards, I'm going to put my measurement, my body's measurement. You are measuring it from your zip allowance. You're not going to add your zip allowance to it. So I'm measuring and adding my sewing allowance to it. So you measure your dart allowance, add it to it, then your sewing allowance. And afterwards, I'll measure my hips. Then add the allowance to it. Then afterwards, I'm going to connect it together. Just like this, you connect all the way down like this. Then afterwards, I'm going to, there's a zipper bulge that used to come from the back. So that's what I will try and eliminate now. So I'm going to go in from my waistline. I'm going to go in by 1 inch or 0.75 inches. So I'm going to connect from the bust point, from the chest line actually. I'm going to connect, then connect it down so that, the back is not straight. It's kind of slopey. So I'm going to reduce from the zipper allowance also on the waistline. All this will be from the waistline. So I am going to connect this also straight down. As you can see how I'm doing it, so I'm going to connect it just to ensure that the zipper allowance is not straight. So this will be my new zipper allowance. Then I'm going to cut this off. So this will eliminate the bulge at the back when you fix your zip. So afterwards, I am going to connect my hammock off. I'm going to connect my hammock off. You can do, there is no standard way of actually doing this. You can do this beforehand. So after doing that, this is my hammock, the shoulder slope, then my darts, remember hips, waist, under busts, and your bust line. So this is how your drafting should look like. So I'm going to cut off the former zipper allowance. So the new zipper line now will be coffee. So we cut them. So remember that your back is sloped, it is not straight. So if you don't want any zipper bulge, ensure that you do what I just did. Eliminate the excesses at the back so that you will not have zip bulge. So this is what it should look like. Do yours and let me see.